Good morning. Welcome back to Conversations at the Corner. Today is Wednesday, January the 14th. Welcome to episode 52. Pastor Nathan, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Let's jump into this. I know that we have a lengthier podcast for today, so let me just jump right into the question of the day. Last week, I asked you about if you could have a 2-week vacation, what country would you pick? You picked Great Britain. I picked Italy. Here was the question of the day today. Other than the U.S., what country would you want to live in? So we'll say this is a 2-year thing. So you're going to have to live in this country for 2 years. What country are you picking to live in?
Man, this is so tough. This is one of those things where, again,
goes back to the language.
It does. It somewhat goes back to the language. But let's just assume that the language is not a barrier, and I could live there. And it would be interesting. I think I would then choose someplace in Europe. And the very selfish reason why is that then I could take a train to all these other countries.
Oh, good idea. That's great. And I've heard that those the inter-country flights are really cheap, like $40-$50.
Yeah, if I could get maybe in southern Germany or Switzerland or something like that, where a little central. Because when Olivia and I were in Paris, we went to Paris a few years ago, and we got a $50 flight to Dublin.
Okay.
So we were let's go to Ireland for a couple days or whatever. So yeah, you're right. You can fly. You got to get around. I think Europe is just really, if I got to live somewhere and I'm thinking about the amenities, I would choose that. But I think too, living is so hard. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's I have lived overseas. I've lived in South America, and there were some amenities to it. We got to go to Argentina, and we got to go to Chile and other places like that and visit Machu Picchu. So there were amenities. But the truth is that when you live overseas, you live overseas. Yeah. So you have to be comfortable with the culture. And probably some industrialized European country where I know how to get around and do everything.
Last week was much easier, like a 2-week vacation.
Yeah, 2-week vacation is easier. I don't know. Let's pick Switzerland.
Ooh.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going with Switzerland.
I've been to Germany. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Yeah, I'll tell you that story sometime. This is not the time. Well, we'll tell you that story. Yeah, I've been to Germany. I'm just going to pick England.
Okay.
Just for the fact that it's a language thing. And
yeah.
There'll be enough things that you would have to adjust to living in England. At least for the most part, the language will be the same. There are probably some words that are different that they use than we do, but I think for the most part, we'll be able to get around okay.
My cousin actually married an Englishman and moved over there, and she's still there and everything. They got 3 kids and all that. But when she comes home now, she has an English accent.
Does she really?
It's crazy. I can't. I still have a little cognitive dissonance whenever I meet her. I'm like, okay, you're British now?
How long has she been over there?
2000. I want to say they married 2001 or 2, something like that.
Okay, so she's been over there more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it probably happens.
Yep.
Probably happens, for sure. Yeah.
Sympathetic ear.
There you go. All right, today is a kind of a cool, unique, special day. I'm going to let you intro the day and get to it.
Yep. So last week we talked about short-term missions trips, and we talked about the fact that people can go on missions trips of various lengths. And it might not even be a trip. It might just be your life, right? So we talked about, going for a week or 2 to somewhere. Pastor Matt went to Jamaica. I went to Croatia. I've done midterm missions trips when I lived in Bolivia. So that was 2 years, and it was a contract-based thing. So if I had wanted to renew the contract, I could have stayed on longer. And in fact, I knew some teachers who would, one teacher in particular there who had been for 10 years. That was just her life. And I don't think she had a big intention of leaving if she didn't have to. But the long-term missions trip is somebody who says, it's not even a trip. They say, our lives are now going to be in this country. This is what we're going to live here. We're going to be there. That's going to be our country now. And the length is indeterminate usually. Sometimes they might we have global partners.
Yep.
Global partners might sign you up to 8-year term or something like that. It just as a way to say like, hey, you're really committing to this. You're not just coming home. You know what I mean? Like you're actually going to go. And then you might stay longer after that. But long-term mission is where we talked a little bit about you adopt to the culture. Well, if you go and you move to Czechoslovakia, you're going to have to learn their language. And you're going to have to really immerse yourself. You're going to have to get used to the fact that they don't have all the American foods that you're used to, or some of the American conveniences that you're used to. When we lived in Bolivia, their climate is more temperate, and they're a poorer country. They don't have like heating and air conditioning units in their houses, so you have to figure out. You might have to bring in a heater and plug it in, and do different things like that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to highlight a missionary couple that I know named Jen and Cory.
Okay.
They are in Mongolia. They began their time in Mongolia, I believe, in 2019. So you're going to hear a conversation where I ask them about their time in Mongolia. I really hope that you enjoy this conversation. And I also want to let you know that even though Jen and Cory are not supported by Emmanuel Wesleyan Church generally, I would love it if anybody decided that you wanted to donate to them, like a one-time donation or something like that. So what I'll do is I'll make sure you get a link to their page on Global Partners. So if you'd like to do that, they would certainly appreciate that. And I would love it too.
Yeah.
So here's a conversation with Jen and Cory in Mongolia. This is Nathan. I'm doing a recording here with my old college friends, Jen and Cory. I went to school with them at Bethany Bible College. It's now called Kingswood. And I was there for a couple of years and got to know them a little bit. I know I went on a 30-hour road trip one time with Jen and my roommate and another friend of us, and that was an experience. So Jen and Cory, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
Yeah. So as everybody knows, this is Missions Month. And so what we're doing is just highlighting different aspects of missions. And so I'm just going to ask you guys a few questions because I really want you to be in the spotlight right now. So let me ask the first one here. I know that I don't know exactly how many years ago it was, but you guys were both in Michigan. And I remember that you, Jen, were working at a church in Michigan. I don't remember where it was, and then you transitioned into missions work. Could you guys tell us a little bit about how that happened? What led you into missions?
So it's been a long and winding road. I grew up in government subsidized housing with people from all walks of life and especially a significant immigrant population. So I've always been interested in other cultures. I went to school. My university degree was in intercultural studies, and I knew graduating that wasn't the time to go for me, and then went through a variety of other work and ministry experiences that included college ministry, drug and alcohol rehab, and I was the outreach pastor at a church before coming to missions. Cory, you want to give your little background and then explain how we ended up in Mongolia?
Yeah. So I grew up in California, in a relatively big city, and always saw the mission of the church as being incredibly local. And my focus was always on the people that were right in front of me, whatever that meant. So missions was never on my mind. It was church planting was my major at Bethany, and we always my focus was just whoever was right in front of me or the community that we were in. And we got into missions because things changed.
Do you want to explain how things changed? Do you want me to explain?
Well, they changed in that the people that God put in front of us were on the other side of the world. And so Jen was the local outreach pastor at this church in Michigan that strongly supported the work here in Mongolia. And they were sending a team, and this is your story, so you can tell it.
Okay. So they were getting a team ready to go visit Mongolia because they visited almost every year. And I decided that I wanted to go that particular year because I had learned that the majority of the Wesleyan pastors in Mongolia were women. And I know that women are not, there aren't as many female pastors as there are male pastors in general. So just representation matters. So I figured just showing up would be an encouragement. And I've since learned that about two-fifths of all pastors in Mongolia are women. There's a high number. Anyway, so I decided I wanted to come on this trip and came home and told Cory, once I got permission to go, I came home and told Cory. It's a big enough church that he had not heard about the trip or the church's involvement in Mongolia. And so I said, hey, I want to go on this trip to Mongolia. And he surprised me by saying that he also wanted to go because we're both a little bit skeptical of short-term trips,
Okay.
which is just our bias. So
Yeah.
I was really surprised. He was like, yeah, me too. And I was like, okay, then let's go.
Yeah, that
Meanwhile,
seemed like a good plan. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we came here and um
oh, you're not going to tell them what you didn't tell me till months later?
yeah, I'm not going to tell that part.
All right.
Maybe I will. I don't know. But anyway, we got here and we um the during the last day we were meeting with the church, the leader of the National Wesleyan Church here and one of the board members. And one of the questions that Global Partners was asking was, since there wasn't a missionary here with the Wesleyan Church, if they were to have a missionary, like what was their wish list? And so they started listing down their wish list, and um, it was somebody who could help with theological training, with Bible training, with pastoral training, and help them figure out some of their processes because they didn't have anything set in place or anything strong system of governance.
So not a lot of
Yeah, like
organizational structure.
Yeah.
at that point, there weren't any ordained Wesleyan pastors, and so they needed an ordination process.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. And they needed some mentoring and just general things to get the church into a healthy place, a place where it could be sustainable. And but as they're talking about their wish list, they're basically listing off our resumes, our work experience. And we said, oh, well, this is something that we could help from Michigan pretty easily with. Like we could fly out maybe once a year, teach a class on doctrine of holiness or history of the Wesleyan Church or something like that. Get some people ordained, do some minor conversations from the other side of the world, and that would be fine. And so we came back. What was it, like 6 months, 7 months later?
Yep.
To teach our doctrine of holiness and history and discipline class that's required for ordination. Because we had three pastors here had done everything that they need for the two pastors, had done everything they need for the ordination process, according to the North American Wesleyan Church. They were just missing doctrine of holiness and history and discipline. And so we figured we can knock those out and they can get ordained. And in that first day, in the first class, I showed them a map. Like we had a little break, and I showed them a map of Mongolia because I wanted to see where the different churches were. And the pastors gathered around, and they're looking at the map, and they're having trouble finding their churches and their towns on the map, which I thought was weird.
I mean, it would be like asking people to look at a map of the United States and point to where their state is. Like it
Right.
wasn't the detail of what street it was. It was like, where is your city or where is your state?
Yeah.
Right. And it was bizarre. And then somebody flipped the map upside down. And then all of a sudden, when the map was upside down, they were able to find their churches or they were able to find their hometowns very quickly.
Oh.
I thought, well, that's weird. And So then that started a conversation where we found out that the Mongolian perception of the world is that south is in front of you, north is behind you, west is to your right, and east is to your left.
Okay.
Which is 180 degrees flipped from the North American
Right.
Concept, right? And so I thought, well, okay, we talk about worldview in missions classes and intercultural studies classes, right? And their worldview was just in the simple cardinal directions was exactly opposite of mine. I thought, if that's a minor thing is so different, like I don't, whatever we do, like planning and prepping and doing, like training our courses, training our trainings and our, any of our mentoring, anything that we do with them is going to miss the mark because we're thinking from the wrong mindset.
Okay.
And at that point, it was very clear to us that if God seemed to have put these people in front of us and this country in front of us, that this was one of the things that he wanted for us. So in order to serve them appropriately, we needed to be here and understand the culture.
Okay. So so this kind of locks in a little bit to what you were saying about short-term missions. I don't think it's that nobody can help at all when you're doing short-term missions, but it's that help can't be as deep and as rich because you don't understand their culture. When you're not enveloped in their culture, when you're not a part of it, it's going to be much harder for you to minister at a deep level. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
And
we've had several short-term teams come that have been very helpful and productive. So we're not anti-short-term teams, but we deeply value contextualization and believe that people deserve to learn in ways that make sense to them. And that's across the board. Like that was when we were working with college students when we were in rehab. Our daughter has a learning disability. Like we believe people should be able to learn in ways that are meaningful and effective for them.
And not us personally in rehab, but when we were working in rehab facilities.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So that kind of got you pushed in the direction of going to Mongolia. So let me ask the next kind of big question that I have. Now that you're there and you've been there for quite a while, I think you were, if memory serves me correctly, did you go in 2019 or 18?
2018.
18. So you were there for a little while. And then I remember that you had come back to the United States for a furlough or a trip or whatever, and you got stuck
3-week vacation.
Pandemic. Yeah. 3-week vacation and got stuck in the US. For COVID. So what kind of work do you do? I know a lot of it has to do with building up the church. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. So help me understand kind of some of the practical day-to-day stuff that you do to help build the church in Mongolia.
So, this is always a challenge, because no day is ever the same. But practically, I meet with the national leader to help them, like every month before the board meeting, to plan what they're going to talk about as a board, and just answer whatever questions I can and help in whatever.
So is this the national leader of the Wesleyan Church in Mongolia?
Of the Wesleyan Church, yeah. So like the general superintendent or district superintendent.
Okay.
And so there's some coaching and mentoring going on there. Practically for me, it looks like developing trainings. So meeting with people to get to know them well enough to know what the churches need, and then developing those trainings. And we have a quarterly Bible school. So we meet every quarter to go over some aspect of Bible theology, practical church ministry, or things that are more specific to Mongolia. So some of it's that nerdy practical stuff. We also have a small business loan grant thing set up where, in order to help the churches become more self-sufficient, being bivocational is necessary for a lot of the pastors. So helping them develop small businesses. And that practical sort of thing. We do some benevolence work, some support for people who just need things that they can't access here on their own. So
Okay.
those that's my primary, like Mongolia is now about half of my role, and that's what I do with my half in Mongolia, and then my other half is overseeing several other countries in Asia. And so their ministries look very different than our ministries do. But yeah, so that's my role in Mongolia. Corey's is a little bit more focused and clear.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about it, we say like Jen works primarily with the Wesleyan Church in Mongolia, and I work with the larger evangelical church. Um, I work with an organization called Mongolia Theological Education by Extension,
Okay.
which is um, it's a education program designed for people with low literacy rates and lower education levels, but to get training for its discipleship, its foundational Bible classes, it's things that you would want any of your lay people to be to go through. It's
Okay.
fantastic material, and because Mongolia's population is so spread out, we are I think the least densely populated country in the world.
Oh,
Um, we've got 3 million people, 1.5 million are in the city, which is like what, 20 miles across.
okay.
And the rest are spread out in a space the size of Texas, Oklahoma,
Okay.
and like New Mexico.
And that's really all
you know,
rural area.
yeah, it's all rural, lots of
Yeah.
sheep, lots of goats, lots of camels,
Okay.
lots of horses, very few people. And so we've got churches that are spread way out in the middle of nowhere. And there's, the church might be a family because they are the ones that are Christians.
Right.
And so we provide training for them, and that's extension model process, and that they can do it from where they're at. They can meet once a week with a mentor, and um, and get the training that they need. And yeah, so anyway, we serve all of Mongolia, the Mongolian diaspora that are spread all over Europe and Canada and the
Wow.
United States, and we've got classes anywhere there are Mongolians, pretty much.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's your role. Your role is a little bit more focused.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, you mentioned that you have a role, like a more regional role for Asia in general. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in that more regional role?
So I oversee or I'm the connecting point for the local churches and the missionary teams in Cambodia, South Korea, Mongolia, which is just us, and then another country that shall not be named.
Okay.
And so I am working with like our team in Cambodia is very diverse. There's one person right now who's working with a local church doing something similar that I am helping them develop an ordination process, helping them get their bylaws and their systems and policies in place. But we've also got people who are more focused on children at risk, people who are coming out of trafficking, like human trafficking industry, helping to rehabilitate them. So they have the Cambodian team is very diverse. There's also some like community mental health trainings that go on there.
Okay.
So overseeing them, I'm the primary connecting point for the church in the Wesleyan Church in South Korea, but we don't have any missionaries there. They've got their own established church that's going well. And then another country where we're a little bit more stealthy. We've got some new people getting ready to go there. And so I'm helping them onboard and get ready to raise money and move.
Okay. So that is probably why on Facebook I see you guys in South Korea quite a bit, or at least part of
Yes.
Yes, we end up traveling a lot for a lot of reasons. Like
Okay.
I travel within the country visiting our churches and doing trainings.
Okay.
I also travel outside of the country, visiting these different places, meeting with these different people. And then, like, Corey has traveled to different conferences related to his work. We travel a
Oh,
lot. It's kind of
yes,
ridiculous.
I see
Way
it.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we also have some decent enough medical issues that can't be addressed in Mongolia. So we
Uh-huh.
have to travel for those as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the casualties, not casualties, but one of the unique elements of missionary work or whenever you're outside. I had a friend who was in China for the military, and she came down with Crohn's disease, and they had no way to deal with it. They were just not
Right.
familiar with Crohn's disease. They couldn't work with it. She had to get sent to Thailand. And so some of that type of stuff happens when you're overseas. You
Yeah.
kind of encounter things like that.
Yeah.
Let me just ask. So I think that's a pretty good summary of all the work that you guys do. Let me ask a couple of fun questions before we go. I have done not short term, I've been overseas in Bolivia. I lived
Mhm.
there for 2 years and taught Bible classes to middle and high school students there. So I've done a little bit of missions work. It's not the same level as what you guys do, but a little bit. And I know that for me, there were always challenges. It's just you're moving to a new place. The culture is not anything really, I mean, not really much like America. I know when I was in Bolivia, there were just a ton of different differences. So there were a lot of things that we had to get used to. What were some of the challenges that you have faced as missionaries in Mongolia? Or one or two of the more interesting ones? Probably a million. I know.
Um, I would say
Well,
the
like one thing is, as we're talking, the contractor just arrived at the house. It was not a planned thing. He just showed up because he had been doing work, and it's been on hold for the last 3 weeks. And we knew he would come at some point, but when is anybody's guess. So anyway, so that's we're having some work done on our kitchen because it was in dire need of work. We live in an old Soviet era building, and the electricity was in danger of killing everybody.
Oh, that's fun.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what I'm hearing there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is something that I experienced in Bolivia. Their just sense of time is different in the sense of
yes,
the expectations of when you will be at a place or if you will even be at a place at all is just, and I found my brain having a very difficult time wrapping around it. So
yes.
that's one of the challenges that I'm hearing you guys have or just some adjustment even.
Mhm.
Oh, for
Yes.
sure. One time, I had a week-long training scheduled and it got moved up a week and they didn't tell me until the day before we were leaving. And so I now had a day to pack. I hadn't done my last minute prep for the training and I had to be ready to go in 24 hours.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
And you hadn't even finished the preparation for the actual training, like all of the
Yeah.
teaching notes and everything,
Yeah.
because you still had a week.
Yeah, I think like some of the oh man, we could go on. Some of the infrastructure stuff here is rough. Like the last training that I did was 24 hours east by train and then super bumpy car every day for 8 hours out of the day. We had no electricity, which meant we had no plumbing, which meant that we were using the town's community outhouses. Um, and thankfully, I had intentionally prepared that training not to use any technology that the pastors themselves didn't have and couldn't use.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was fine with my minimal paper notes and stuff like that, but that was wild. I think the lack of adequate medical care has been a bigger issue than we expected,
Okay.
Yeah.
because we were healthy before we moved here. Um,
Right.
And then we just have less access to stuff in general. So
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
we see a Reese's peanut butter cup or a candy cane, we get super excited.
Yeah.
Or cheddar cheese.
Yes.
And then I remember that when I lived in Bolivia, Bolivia is landlocked like Mongolia is, and
Mhm.
so stuff doesn't really get there. And if it
Right.
Yeah.
does, it is insanely expensive. I don't know what the
Yeah.
prices are there, but in Bolivia, it was like if you wanted a box of Lucky Charms or something, you were going to pay, 20 American dollars essentially, or whatever for it.
Mhm.
Um,
I've definitely done that with Lucky
one of the
Charms.
things.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Corey.
No, what Jen said, she's definitely done that with Lucky Charms
Oh,
multiple
okay.
times.
With Lucky Charms specifically.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things I thought about when I saw you guys starting this, I know that there were quite a few like Facebook posts about language learning.
Oh, yes.
I am assuming, I don't know. I'm not necessarily I understand linguistic principles, but I'm not good at picking up languages. I can only assume that Mongolian is not easy. Is that the right guess?
That is correct. It is
Yeah.
one
Mongolian
of
is a beast.
the more difficult languages for native English speakers to pick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
it's
like,
weird in that, so for a little while, I was working as an English teacher here because for a visa. And Mongolian, so usually what they say is they'll take kids that are local kids, they will study in a second language and they'll be fine with their mother tongue, right? They'll pick it up and they'll be able to converse. They'll be like they will have a little bit of remedial work, maybe an hour or two a week to help keep their mother tongue going, right? So that they can work academically in it if they want to. That's not the case with Mongolian. Most of the kids that are at our Mongolians or at our English schools completely lose their Mongolian or their ability to work in Mongolian.
maybe not completely, but some of them
not completely,
can't
but
have meaningful conversations with their parents. They would have
right.
trouble going to college in Mongolian.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I ran into one of my old students 2 days ago. And he's at the local university and is really struggling because the thought process for Mongolian, it's just like the conceptual, like the framework of the world. It's just, it's so different than English. And he's really struggling with it. Even though he is Mongolian, it was his first language. It's the language his parents and his grandparents speak. He didn't study it through all of high school, and he lost a ton of his ability to use it.
Yeah, it's really strange.
That's crazy.
It's really strange, and so for that, like going the other direction, learning it is really hard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's yeah.
Sorry, well, I was just going to say that I think for any missionary work, that's part of that element of trying to minister to them where they're at. I mean, you're never going to learn Mongolian probably as fluent or as well as a native speaker, but you want to get into their space. And
yeah.
Let me, we're on Zoom and I'm not on Zoom professional. And that means that I only have a certain amount of time, but let me ask more of a fun question. Whenever I've hosted a missionary at a church or anything like that, I love to try to ask, what is it about the culture of your host country that maybe you've been pleasantly surprised by or you find some joy or fun in? I know there's all difficulties, but what do you love about it?
So I was gonna say I enjoy the music and the dancing, especially like the traditional art forms I really enjoy. So Mongolian traditional dance, which is still very much a part of life here. Mongolia has some unique musical instruments. They've got some like UNESCO World Heritage musical aspects to them. So those are things that I enjoy, as well as their physical art.
I admit I have no concept of Mongolian music at all. I might have to.
We'll send you a few. We'll send you a few links that you can share or experience. Yeah. Corey, what about you? Sorry.
People are incredibly laid back, and their humor is very much in line with my humor, which is nice. Like I slipped on the ice and hurt myself a couple days ago just because it's icy, and so I came into work and everyone's checking on me to make sure that I'm still alive and fine, haven't broken anything. But then also they were laughing at me because, well, it's funny when you slip on the ice. Everybody's done it. If you can do it without dying, it's funny. And it's
that's got to be one of the
a
things I would
dark
think.
humor.
Yeah, I would think humor is one of the harder things to kind of figure out, because humor is always really local and specific to a culture. But that's good that you're enjoying their humor. I like that.
Yeah.
So
and they like to laugh at us because we're foreigners, and so they know that their food is not food that we would prefer to eat. There's very good-natured teasing. Like, they will have us try to eat food that they know we won't want to eat or that we won't enjoy. Okay. And if we do enjoy it or do eat it, they are surprised and very happy with it. But they enjoy watching us struggle with their food.
Yeah, food wasn't a big thing that I struggled with in Bolivia, but I'm sure that Mongolian cuisine is different. But I'm also sure that there's some, like, I know I've seen it a little bit on Facebook. Like, there are some attempts by Mongolians to like replicate maybe American cuisine or different types of cuisine, and it doesn't always turn out quite right. I don't know if that's the best way to put it. But
yes, I was visiting one of our pastors way up north, and at the end of the week, she made a very nice meal for me. She knew I was American, and what do Americans like to eat? Pizza. And so she went out of her way to make me a pizza. She had never had pizza before, but she'd seen pictures of it. And it was the worst pizza I've ever had.
Yeah.
But I ate it. It was a wonderful blessing that she made something for me. It was the thought that counted very much more than the taste of it.
Yeah. No, I'd have to imagine. Well, for all of our listeners here, I really want to thank both of you for taking the time to talk to us and share a little bit about what you do. I know this conversation went a little longer than I had expected. So thank you so much. And I guess that's it. Okay. That's all for the podcast part of it.
Pastor Nathan, thank you for contacting them and having that conversation.
Yeah.
What a cool conversation to hear about their story. Just as a reminder, if you want to donate to them, we'll get you the link to be able to do that to support their ministry.
Yeah.
As we close out this episode 52 of Conversations at the Corner, Pastor Nathan, is there anything you want to add before we pray?
No, the only thing I'll say is that conversation was a blast for me because these were my friends, and they're obviously on the other side of the world now, so I don't get to see them. And after we kind of ended the podcast part of it, I talked to them for a few minutes and just said, hey, I said, one of the reasons we're doing this is because we were going to have a missions podcast. And I said, I thought this is a good excuse to talk to Jen and Cory. I'll just do an interview with them.
There you go.
Get a chance to talk to them.
Good.
And that's one of the great things about being a part of the Wesleyan Church and having those connections is even though they're a world away, they're really close to my heart, and their work is really important to me, even though can't be there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, thanks for bringing them into our lives through this podcast. And we look forward to next week. We're going to continue in this theme of missions. Don't forget about our missions conference coming up the end of the month. Let me pray for you before I let you go. Lord Jesus, I pray that you would be with our listeners today. I thank you so much for them tuning in to join us, whether it was live or maybe later in the day or even another day. And God, I pray that you would be with them, that you would help them. God, I pray that you would be with, again, with all of the missionaries that we support as a church and all the missionaries that even if we don't support them, we either know them or we care about their work. God, I pray that you would just provide for them, protect them, flourish their ministry. God, I pray that you would be with our listeners, give them a great rest of the day. May they walk and live in the Spirit of God. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks again for joining us. Same time, same channel next week. Keep rolling, Emmanuel.